Sunday, January 19th. Hitler and several Wehrmacht commanders wait at the railway station of Puch, near Salzburg in Austria, for the arrival of Mussolini. After the protocol is out of the way, the Führer and the Duce head to Salzburg for a meeting. Hitler describes some of the peculiarities of Operation Marita, the invasion of Greece through the Balkan countries, and requests Mussolini's help to convince General Franco to bring Spain into the war. In the Battle of Britain, Luftwaffe planes attacked the neighborhood of Greenwich in London, where a major electric power station is located. Southampton and other cities on the south coast also suffer heavy bombing. In France, Marshal Pétain and Pierre Laval attempt reconciliation. The president of the Vichy government states that the French are determined to be a part of the new order in Europe. In East Africa, British forces in Sudan, under the command of General William Platt, launch an offensive against the Italians. They retrieve the railway station of Kassala and advance towards Eritrea. In Tokyo, the Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yosuke Matsuoka, makes a speech in which he reiterates his country's loyalty to the Tripartite Pact. Monday, January 20th. The German and Italian dictators meet at the Berghof, Hitler's residence in the Bavarian Alps in Obersalzberg-Berchtesgaden. The Nazi leader gives details of his decision to help the Italian army in Albania with a view to invading Greece. He also announces that he is ready to send several armored divisions to Libya under the command of Erwin Rommel, one of his best commanders, who has been promoted to lieutenant general and put in charge of the Africa Corps. Mussolini expresses unease with the Nazi leader's plans, fearing that Italy might end up being dominated by the Germans. In Romania, Ion Antonescu, who has Hitler's backing to force out of the government the members of the Legionnaire Party, dissolves commissions set up by the party and dismisses the Minister of the Interior, Constantin Petroviescu. The Legionnaires' rebellion is not long in coming. In the Mediterranean and North Africa, Stukas bomb Malta and British positions on the Suez Canal in Egypt. For their part, the Allies continue to lay siege to Tobruk in Libya. In the United States, an armed man is arrested in front of the White House moments before President Roosevelt is sworn into office for a third term. Tuesday, January 21st. Following the meeting between Hitler and Mussolini, the British press fears an imminent invasion of Britain. London is again heavily bombed. Churchill orders Admiral Andrew Cunningham, commander of the Mediterranean Fleet, to provide air cover for Malta, and sends a message to the troops on the island saying the eyes of the nation and the empire are on them, and promising that victory and glory will reward their courage. In Bucharest, Legionnaire rebels of the Iron Guard detain thousands of Jews and kill 120 of them. General Antonescu warns that he will use the army to quell the uprising. The U.S. government lifts its embargo on the Soviet Union, in place since the invasion of Finland in 1939. At the same time, military maneuvers begin to practice how to meet an invasion. In North Africa, General Richard O'Connor launches an offensive against Tobruk in Libya. Naval artillery shelling and air raids against the city are intensified. The Australian infantry, supported by armored vehicles, breaks through the Italian defenses, and General Rodolfo Graziani is forced to cede the command of the troops to his General of Staff and to flee to Tripoli. Wednesday, January 22nd. In North Africa, the Australian 6th Division, which is part of the Allied Army commanded by General O'Connor, occupies the city of Tobruk after having inflicting heavy damage on the port and the Italian battleship San Giorgio. Mussolini's forces are exhausted and totally demoralized. The men who have fought under General Patassi Manella have only been able to resist the Allied assault for 12 hours. Australian casualties amount to 49 dead and 306 wounded. O'Connor hopes to continue the march along the Libyan coast and sends troops to the west to take Benghazi. In London, in response to rumors of an imminent German invasion of Britain, Winston Churchill addresses the House of Commons and tries to reassure people that 4 million armed men are prepared to defend the country. In Romania, the defiant attitude of Vice President Horia Sima boosts the revolt of groups within the Legionnaire movement. Marshal Antonescu orders the army to repress the rebels using all the necessary means. Colonel William Donovan, sent by President Roosevelt to meet European leaders, arrives in Belgrade in Yugoslavia. Donovan, who is chief of the Secret Services, which will become the CIA, has his briefcase containing important documents stolen as he goes to meet the pro-German Prince Paul. Thursday, January 23rd. In the Mediterranean, the aircraft carrier Illustrious, after being repaired, sets sail from Malta to the port of Alexandria in Egypt. 5 Norwegian merchant ships from the Swedish harbor of Göteborg managed to elude the German patrols and, under fire from Luftwaffe aircraft, reach the British naval base of Scapa Flow, where they joined the Royal Navy. In the Sea War, Italian submarines joined the Germans in the Battle of the Atlantic, while the British successfully attacked the Italian fleet in the Mediterranean. 2 large Kriegsmarine cruisers, the Gneisenau and the Scharnhorst, equipped with the SeaTac system onboard radar, sink 22 Allied freighters in a convoy sailing across the Atlantic. In Romania, the army thwarts a coup d'etat. The head of state, Marshal Ion Antonescu, dismisses Vice President Horia Sima, leader of the Legionnaire movement of the Iron Guard, which is secretly backed by the SS, even though Antonescu has the official support of the Third Reich. In North Africa, the coastal city of Tobruk in Libya is ablaze, and the Allies take the remaining Italian positions. In Tokyo, the Japanese government receives the approval of the French Vichy government to mediate in the conflict between Indochina and Thailand. Friday, January 24th. In North Africa, the Italian forces retreating along the Libyan coast towards Derna find themselves surrounded by the British Army and its allies. Further south, in Menchili and Gazala, artillery and tank battles take place. In East Africa, the Italians give ground in Eritrea under pressure from the British. The fighting intensifies in Abyssinia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. In Hamburg, the battleship Bismarck is ready to return to the Baltic Sea following repairs. It must delay its departure, however, because the Kiel Canal is temporarily frozen. In the United States, the Secretary of the Navy, Frank Knox, sends a message to the Secretary of War, Henry Stimson, warning him that if war were to break out with Japan, the Japanese would launch a surprise attack on the naval base at Pearl Harbor in the Pacific, which would have disastrous consequences. Meanwhile, President Roosevelt, on board the presidential yacht Potomac, set sail to meet the Royal Navy cruiser George V, in which Lord Halifax, the new British ambassador, is traveling. On his first meeting with the American leader, Halifax requests that ships and planes be sent to Britain urgently. In the Battle of the Atlantic, U-123, commanded by Karl-Heinz Mohle, sinks the Norwegian merchant ship Vespasian.